Hello, this is our review of Chapter 14, and this is our second full-length chapter case. Well, I like this case. We have a high loss, $20.6 million to the victim. It took place over a period of 9 years, and it has some of the attributes of a cyber attack. So, without further ado, let's have a look and see what happened. Cyber attacks are intentional intrusions into a computer system using some flaw in the authorization, authentication, and permissions controls, with the objective of achieving some type of gain, and that's what they did. The lack of controls here was specifically related to the shipping charges, and the shipping charges that were claimed were wildly excessive. So, we're going to look at the scheme and get some insights into the people involved. We'll look at some analytics, and we'll end up with some conclusions. I always tell my students that you never ever want a document in this world that starts off with the words United States of America versus, followed by, and then they all are supposed to say your name, and they do. Well, Charlene, not so lucky. They had a business. The business provided the Department of Defense with hardware components, the type of hardware components that you could actually buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. They operated out of this building. You can see we have a place for trucks. There we go, and there we go. Not very big, but highly profitable. So, let's have a look. Contract number, invoice date, description of the items, cost for the items, shipping, and whether it was paid or not. Let's have a look at these shipping numbers. 41,000 and change paid. 445,000 and change paid. 492,000 and change paid. November 18th was a particularly good day. Some O-rings, about $130, and indeed $1.3 million in shipping charges paid. We move up, 499,000, 403,000. Wow, look at the ratio, 499,000 for a $20 item. Paid. But this is how it ended. A washer and a lock, two of them, 38 cents. Shipping $998,798, 38 cents paid. And the reason that they got caught was because they claimed another shipping again under the same contract number. And the Department of Defense picked this up and said, we're not paying this. We've already paid this. This is a duplicate payment. Something's wrong. Something is very wrong over here. So, the shipping amounts, the second last column is incorrectly titled. So when we go here, this actually shouldn't be shipping amount. I know I said it was shipping when I read it out at first, but this is the total amount. So, this is the total amount, and when we look for patterns, we can see that the total cost of the items, the cents, and the cents over here, they match. And when we go here again, the cents and the cents of the total match. This should tell you that the shipping charge in each case was a round dollar amount with no cents, including over here. 38 cents, the total was that, the shipping must have been 998,798. The shipping charges were excessive. They ranged from being 45 times the selling price to 2.6 million times the selling price. This is 2.6 million times that. The ratio is increasing over time, and the cents amounts were always zero. So this is what the book is about. We're looking for patterns and interesting ones at that. The 00 might have been the one that could have caught them, or the ratio of shipping charges to cost of the items. Now, did the two sisters, Charlene and Darlene, did they have to steal? This was their bank balance after Darlene wrote a check for $4.5 million to the Department of Defense, asking whether we can just settle this out of court. Here's a good faith payment for $4.5 million. What she didn't say was that we still have quite a lot left over. So $2.6 million. Now, if this is what you have after that $4.5 million check cleared, then you would have $7.2 million before the check cleared. Here we go. There's another million. In total, $8.2 million in cash, and still they had to steal more, and you saw the attempted theft here of another million. So $8.2 million in cash, but they had to steal more. These were the assets. You might say, well, these are old Mercedes. I don't want to drive an old car that's that old. No, nor do I. However, they were caught at the end of 2006. These were matching Mercedes-Benz. These were next year's models. These were the 2007 models that they purchased at the end of 2006. Matching Mercedes, approximate cost $97,000 each. Here we can see the trend in the cars. Mercedes, BMW, my favorite, Lexus. Here we go. A bucket grapple. What is a bucket grapple? That's the thing on the front of a bulldozer. I think that everybody needs to have their own bucket grapple. I have one, in fact, myself. You never know when you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, I'd like to bulldoze something. And if you have your own bucket grapple right there ready, you can start bulldozing straight away. Jet skis. Further down the list, a 2005 Ford Mustang registered to Kellyanne Shaw. Poor Kellyanne. Kellyanne worked in their office. Kellyanne turned 18. The sisters gave Kellyanne a birthday present. A beautiful 2005 Ford Mustang. This is just a short while later. The FBI wanted the Mustang back. Kelly was no doubt quite upset. These were their beach houses and their lake house. Beach house, beach house, beach house, beach house. Notice anything about the beach houses. It's quite amazing. They have 4 beach houses all at the same beach. Lake house. That indeed was the lake house. This is the prosecutor on sentencing day. Your Honor, I don't think it would be possible for me to overstate the seriousness of the crime. This is more money than most hardworking people in the country will ever see in their lifetime. Gluttony and excess at its highest peak. They seldom use words like this. In TV they do, but I've never seen it in real life. 1 million wasn't enough. 2 million wasn't enough. 3 million wasn't enough. 21 million. What did they do with the money? As if that matters. 96,000 matching Mercedes, 4 beach houses, luxury cars, a box in Clemson Stadium, we'll see that in a moment. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of jewelry. The list of assets that we gave you is 10 pages, single-spaced. I think they added that just in case the judge doesn't understand how spacing works. Miss Corley has a college education from Clemson University. Prior to starting that, she had a well-paying job. She had more education and more opportunities than most people. She had the ability to earn a good, legitimate income. And this is what I tell my students. They will say this about you. You have the ability to earn a good, legitimate income. If you decide to steal, this makes it worse. The husband had his own accounting firm. He also earns a good income. This is not someone who's told to buy medical treatments or to pay their mortgage. Pure and unadulterated greed. The husband had his own accounting firm. It's strange. Over a 9-year period, he had absolutely no idea of the extra $20.6 million that the sisters earned. The expense and time that the government went in to investigate this case. This transcript is long. I've just hauled out the interesting bits. A 9-month investigation. And during that time period, as you may already have heard, 3 weeks after the investigation started, a warehouse on the property of C&D Distributors mysteriously burned down, and contained in the back of that warehouse were boxes and boxes of documents, and some of them were relevant to the case. Your Honor, we had IRS agents at the facility until 11 o'clock on a Friday evening digging these documents out. Lengthy and time-consuming. She did not offer to assist or cooperate in any way. In fact, what Charlene did was Charlene blamed her sister for everything. She walked away. She blamed her sister, and that was extremely convenient because her sister committed suicide a few days after the investigation started, so Darlene was not around. This is Charlene on sentencing date. Your Honor, I messed up. I messed up really bad. I'm sorry. I want to apologize. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed and I want to apologize and to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Honestly, this doesn't look like an apology to me. This is rather pathetic. For somebody that has stolen $20.6 million, I have heard of people more apologetic for stealing $5,000. All right, thank you. Charlene sentenced to 78 months. That is 6.5 years. Take off time for good behavior. Take off the last 6 months in a halfway house, a re-entry house, like we saw in the last chapter, and you're down to 5 years and 3 months. 5 years and 3 months for $20.6 million. This is the amount of restitution because they paid approximately $5 million, remember that check, and an additional $500,000, so it reduced the amount of the restitution. But restitution at $15.6 million to be paid in monthly installments of $300. I leave it up to you to make a call about that amount. Is Charlene repentant? Is she sorry for what she did? No. She wants a prison delay. She has been told to report on April 21st. She wants a 3-month delay. During the past 2 years, she has assisted the government in the identification. This is the attorney writing. Many of the assets are now being seized. She has a unique interest in assisting the government in seizing and forfeiting this property. To continue her assistance to the government. We've heard before, she was completely uncooperative. And now to suggest that she wants 3 more months to help the government to seize her assets, this borders on the ridiculous. I would actually be offended if I was a judge after reading paragraph 1. Between the proposed date and July 21st, she has numerous matters that require her presence. Her son William is graduating on June 8th. They'd love to celebrate this as a family. For the past several years, Ms. Cordy has coordinated and conducted the Summer Vacation Bible School program. Have grown up in, this will be their final year. The program is scheduled for the 1st and 2nd week. Mrs. Corley's reporting date, this will allow all the members to celebrate their final summer event together. I can only believe that the other parents would love to have Mrs. Corley at the Vacation Bible School talking to their children about the 9 commandments. More importantly, though, is the June wedding of Mrs. Corley's nephew Jason. Now we talk about, so we had the first, there were 4 sisters. The first one died in 1988. This is, of course, the nephew, and Jason has asked Mrs. Corley to stand in as his mother for the marriage ceremony. This will allow everything to happen following help the daughter prepare for his year in high school. Based on this, the defendant respectfully requests a 3-month delay. Gregory Harris. The prosecutors were livid. She has had ample opportunity to attend to family matters. The reasons that she cites, with one exception, are largely trivial in the light of the egregious fraud committed in the case. The government believes the defendant has, we carry on. If the court is inclined to grant any relief the government submits should be allowed to remain until June 9th, the day following her son's high school graduation. Winston Holiday. Here we go. They allowed an extension to the day after graduation, order granting in part and denying in part. So not all the way to July, but to the day after graduation. What happened was Harris himself, another motion, asking for a reconsideration. And the point they made that it's rather difficult to get all the way down to Florida in one day after graduation. I'm sure they wanted to add that they don't want to speed because that would be breaking the law. And so they asked for an extension till June 11th, which would allow more driving time. And that was actually allowed. Charlene, released from prison, February 2015. Released from prison to be able to come and live back at home at that nice house over there. So, this is just a review of the fraud hexagon. Pressure, wanting to be a big, very big spender. Opportunity, the flaw in the system. Rationalization, absolutely none. Competence, arrogance, undeterred, these are all factors that play a role, but she was an outsider. These apply more so to an insider, somebody like the chief financial officer or an accountant doing something like that. Well, let's have a look at some concluding comments. Before that, we'll do the conclusions now, and then we have 2 other matters to have a look at. A lack of controls regarding shipping provided the opportunity. Preventive controls are the most cost-effective way of dealing with fraud risk. Number 2, detective controls. Opportunity combined with the pressure of wanting to appear successful combined to form the perfect storm. No rationalization. It seems that rationalization can indeed be completely missing. The prosecutor said, this is a case of pure and unadulterated and enormous greed. Before we get back here, just have a look at one other thing, or 2 other things. Let's go here. I'm looking at the second digits of the shipping charges, and the second digits were either a 0 or a 9. They seem to like that. And this is slightly odd, because numbers with a second digit 9 are numbers coming in just below some threshold. Numbers with the second digit 0, like 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, are numbers that are just above some threshold. So the fact that they combined these 2 is rather strange. But when we move on to figure 14.2, so watch, the second digits go from 0 to 9. When we go to figure 14.2, we get the second error in the book, 203,000 words. I hope you can cut me a little bit of slack. I talk about all the digits, and these all digits should go from 0 to 9. Excel's default is to put 1 to 10, and I should have overridden that, as I did in the graph that we just saw, and gone 0 to 9. Sorry about that. There are two nice cases at the end for chapter 14. Number 1 is to read that entire sentencing hearing, and also to look at an extract of the control activities section of this rather excellent fraud examination book. And then I have some questions on those two documents, and students generally enjoy doing that. Second case, watch the Investigation Discovery Channel video titled Green-Eyed Monsters and their episode, or that is the episode, in the Evil Twins Season 2 series. I have a link here. Students will have to pay, I think it's $2 or $3. And then I have 25 questions that follow, and generally students enjoy doing this as well. So let's go back. Final slide. This is me being interviewed for the Investigation Discovery Channel series. They're getting the cameras ready, and he is asking me the questions, and it was quite a grueling day. It was about 2 hours of questioning, and that all ended up being something like 6 minutes of footage in the 1 hour show. So I've enjoyed this. That ends our review, and from me to you, it's bye-bye.